Hello and welcome to Jill Cameron Creations. We're going to be using a stencil from the May kit of the Hedgehog Hollow, and it is a color wheel stencil. And I'm going to be doing some watercolor with it. I'm going to go ahead and apologize now that I only got 2 sections of the actual watercoloring part filmed. My camera cut off and I did not know it, but you still see how I watercolored it. You still see all the rest of the card. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I have a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch Ranger watercolor paper. It's not expensive watercolor paper. It's just plain old Ranger watercolor paper. I'm going to treat it with an anti-static powder tool, which is really important because we're going to use a distress embossing pen. I like the distress embossing pen. Say that 5 times fast, man. Come on. It's a tongue twister. Anyway, I really like this pen because it is super juicy. So I'm going to outline every single section of the stencil. One thing that I will say about doing this is make sure you do this methodically or you'll lose your place and you'll forget which ones you outlined and which ones you didn't, because this is the second time I did the project because, oh yeah, I forgot to outline some of the places. So I started at the top and worked my way around to the bottom on all of this. I am going to use black embossing powder. Some of the lines are going to end up being thicker and some of them are going to be almost non-existent, and that's perfectly fine. I'm going for a messy watercolor look here on this Ranger watercolor paper. So some of the texture of the paper is the cause of the skipping of the lines. I wasn't pressing down or anything, but this pen is super juicy, so it worked really, really well for what I wanted it for. Some people are scared of black embossing powder. It is no different than any other color of embossing powder. You just happen to see it a lot more if there's a place on the white paper that is, you know, coated in black embossing powder that shouldn't be. So don't be scared of black embossing powder. Use your anti-static powder tool. And any places that, like I have that one little black place right there, and that's where I put my finger down, so the oils from my finger made it stick there. So I just take a paintbrush, wipe those areas off. You could actually leave those on this card if you really wanted to, just because of the style of the card. It's, you know, messy and artistic, so the style of the card, it would allow you to do that. I'm going to heat set this with my heat tool. Be sure that you keep your heat tool moving. Even on watercolor paper that's heavy, it will warp your paper or burn it. So keep your heat tool moving around on that. Keep your fingers out of the way, because you see I just dropped it because I burnt my finger. Oops. Alright, so now I'm going to move into the watercolor portion of this. I use the Altenew 36 color pan set and Nuvo watercolor brushes. I'm using the widest one in that set. I'm going to go ahead and put my paper on this is a cutting board from kitchen. I'm doing wet on wet, so I'll wet each section with clear water, and then I put my brush over, I put some water on the actual color that I'm using, and I pre-wet them. And I literally just dabbed the color in. I wasn't doing anything special with this. I just dabbed the color in. I wanted it to be really puddly and really cloudy looking. I wanted to have some hard edges in there. I wanted it to have some softer edges in there. I wanted it to have a little bit of blend to it. So the top outermost section is my darkest, and then I moved into some lighter. It doesn't show up necessarily right now. Started with purple. Purple's my favorite color, so I wanted it to be the most prominent color kind of on here. Then I moved on to the red, and I went orange, yellow, green, teal, blue, and pink. And that's how I kind of went around the corner there. The red in this is a little orangey, and having the purple in the background there, it really toned that orange down a little bit. So I was perfectly fine with that. I did change out the water a couple times so that my the clean water that I put on here wouldn't be cloudy and distort the color. So to finish this card off, I let this dry for a little bit. To finish this card off, I did a couple of different splatters on it. I did Perfect Pearls, I did black, and I did white. And my Perfect Pearls is nothing more than a spray bottle that I've had for years and years and years and years that has Perfect Pearls in it and some water. And I just take it out and flick it, and I just fill it up from the actual powder and make my own. The black that I'm using is Hero Arts black watercolor in the dropper. It's that concentrated liquid watercolor. I really do like that to do splatters with because it makes it really easy. For white, I did, and I didn't show it, but for white, I did the Copic opaque white and just add a little bit of water to it. For this, the Inspire is actually from a previous release of Hedgehog Hollow. I stamped it in purple and then stamped over top of it with Versamark ink and did clear embossing on it and cut it out using my Silhouette and a pick scan mat, and then I just placed this on the card itself. I covered up the center there because I didn't really know what to do with the center, so I wanted to make sure that it was covered by something and it looked, quote, normal when I did that. I'm going to put this on a dark gray card base because I think that just looks so pretty when you open it up, because you kind of expect it to be white, but the front is off-white, and yeah, I just, anyway. So to finish this card off, I'm going to use some moonstones or dewdrops or drops or whatever you want to call them. They're the little domed things that look like, they're not really jewels, but they kind of look like dewdrops. I've always called them moonstones. So I'm going to place those all over the front of this card, and that's going to finish this off. I hope you have enjoyed this amazingly simple card, but still beautiful. If you have somebody that is currently just in need of a little inspiration or a little pick-me-up, this might be the card that you can create for them that is absolutely perfect. I use my Marvy pickup stick here to pick up my jewels and put some glue under those little dots there and get everything set up. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you have any questions about how I created this card, just let me know, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.